Attention crew, this is your Captain Caliban speaking. This is a supplemental episode of Enterprising Individuals where we bring you news and tidbits from the world of Trek, also interviews with special guests, and a few little surprises along the way. I hope you're remaining happy and healthy as we all remain indoors. And there's light at the end of this tunnel, it would seem, as many states are opening up, or at least making plans to open up again. So hopefully we'll be able to enjoy this summer with few restrictions, even though the Summer Olympics were pushed back to 2021, which is disappointing but necessary. And another thing, as you might know if you're a student or a parent of kids, school has been way messed up this year. I mean, there's going to be an entire generation of students who will have this weird memory of coronavirus and the half year that they weren't in school, like a dark ring in a tree when there was a forest fire. Ella, my co-host on Discoverage and the co-host of the Generations Geek podcast, just graduated from college. Congratulations, Ella. And nothing. No ceremony, at least not in person, no party, no open house. You just have to fling your mortarboard into the ceiling fan and listen to a commencement speech from Kesha. I mean, what's that going to do to a generation of students? Not the Kesha thing, whatever, she's all right. But maybe this will change many people's minds on the practices of education. I've talked with several educators on this show in the past about teaching techniques and what school might look like in the future, and everyone seems to agree that the digital tools available to educators mean that the, one-room schoolhouse writ large theory of education needs a second look, and that learning can happen anywhere, as long as you wear masks and stay 6 feet apart. This week, Mikanhana of the Just Enough Trope podcast is back once again on the show, not to talk about education, but to discuss some of the latest Trek news from the Trek sphere. Last time she was on the show, we ended up talking a lot about the new direction of Trek, and we had some, let's say, loving criticisms for it, and we end up doing that again a little on this show. Suffice it to say, I'm a Star Trek fan in all its forms, and I always want it to be good, but we end up being kind of frank about what we think about the current state of Trek, good and bad, so be ready for that. Everything's still cool, and please share your opinions with us on social media at EISTPOD or on our Discord, because we want to know what everyone thinks. Stick around to the end of the show to get a sneak peek of next week's episode. You're free to wear sunscreen, and with that, let's get underway. I just saw an article about how somebody, somebody, was talking about how Batwoman stealth cast Bruce Wayne and nobody noticed.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, they did. So the character, so the whole premise of the show is that Bruce Wayne is out of town, I guess. And so Batwoman is protecting Gotham and living in the Batcave. And they haven't said that, they haven't committed to putting him on. They had Kevin Conroy play like an older version of him in the Elseworlds episode.
Yeah.
And so but the character Hush, Tommy Elliott, is on the show. And this is, I don't watch the show, so I'm just making this up as I go. But,
okay.
And one of the features of that character is that he wants Bruce Wayne's life. He hates Bruce Wayne and Batman. And he alters his face to look like Batman. So the character is Tommy Elliott. Uh-huh. But if he's going to have the face of Batman, you just cast Batman for your show.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I don't know the actor's name. He was on Suits or something like that. I think his name is Murray or something like that.
All right.
And my problem with all the CW superhero shows is just like one signifying thing. Okay, there you go. None of those characters really appeal to me so much as, wow, that's really Jesse Quick or whatever.
Yeah, right.
He's got black hair, so he's Bruce Wayne, I guess. He's kind of a pencil-necked kind of guy. He's not who you think of as being the Batman.
No.
But that's what it is. And that was the story this morning. This afternoon, the story was Ruby Rose not coming back for season 2.
Wait, what?
Yeah. She just announced it on Twitter hours before we recorded this right now. And
that's huge.
The turnaround was so fast that this afternoon or pre-dinner's airing of Jeopardy had a clue about who plays Batwoman on CW, and it was Ruby Rose, and people were tweeting like, "Oh boy."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That is why? Did she have a bad experience?
Well, she did break her back on the show. That could be something to do with it.
That's right.
She hasn't said anything. She just said the typical, this is a tough decision. I respect all the people. And, we don't know. Well, probably hear something in the weeks and months to come, but yeah, she's out.
Well, how are they going to do it? Are they going to just like do what they do with a lot
Hush
of
is going to
TV?
get her, first of all, and he's going to make her look like Bruce Wayne. I don't know.
Do they recast and just act like it's the same person? Or do they get somebody completely new and be like, oh, I took over the mantle or something like that?
You just recast.
Okay.
It's TV, you just recast. But
Wow.
you could cancel too.
Yeah.
You could cancel.
I
don't want them to cancel it.
No.
Again, I don't watch it. But
mean,
I thought that Legends of Tomorrow was a goner, and it has survived by becoming... I never watched that show either, but I see screen caps from like... They're doing a Star Trek thing. They've got people in like TOS costumes on a bridge. And so it's just become a carnival. Like, you know, the premise was always that they could go back in time to whenever, right? And so, yeah, the third episode in, it's like, whoa, we're in the 70s.
Wow.
That sounded more like the Munsters. I meant for it to sound like a sitar, but that's okay. Yeah, and so, but they've just taken that and just run with it, and it doesn't really matter. It doesn't make any sense, and it actually sounds kind of fun. But I don't watch it, and it's gone for like what, 4 seasons now,
Something like that.
So I think Batwoman's gonna be fine. They'll just recast.
Wow.
Maybe she got a role on a new Star Trek show.
Oh, you think?
I don't know.
You're speculating?
I know this is a Star Trek news podcast.
It is.
So we should probably be doing that.
Probably.
Joining me on the show today is Mikanhana from the Just Enough Trope podcast, coming back to help out again with the news. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Cal. Glad to be here.
Is it safe to ask you what's been happening on the Just Enough Trope podcast?
Is it safe? Yes.
You've had to do it virtually now, remotely?
Yeah, right. How would that work?
Over Skype?
Remotely do it through the studio somehow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've had to just run down the street and just do it remotely?
Yeah, right.
From your phone?
Well, let's see here. Last episode, we talked about a double John double feature. It was 2 John Travolta and 2 John Woo films.
The mind boggles as to where that could have gone.
I know.
But it landed there.
We talked about Broken Arrow and Face Off. That's right. We went there. And
the rumors are true.
Yes. I had never seen either film. So
yeah, the American films of John Woo are what sent him back to China. But are not thought of as being his best films.
No, I do enjoy Hard Target, though.
He's not the first filmmaker to bounce off of Hollywood, foreign filmmaker, but definitely one of the biggest anticipations, a blue chipper
that
absolutely. Stars wanted to work with, and of course studios didn't trust because they're like, can this guy direct? And it's like,
he can.
Millions of Hong Kong dollars.
I know, right?
Pounds, or whatever they have over there.
Yeah.
And he did, a couple okay films over here, and then that was kind of it.
Yeah.
Kept John Travolta alive in the 90s, though.
Yeah, right. I was anticipating Face Off quite a bit because that was something I hadn't seen and really wanted to see. I think it was fun. I think you mentioned on this viewing you didn't enjoy it as much.
Well, I have a long, like a 20-year odyssey of deprogramming myself that's a good movie. It's not a good movie.
Okay.
But now that I have done that and I can see it as the bad movie that it is, I don't know why it doesn't have a midnight showing following. Why aren't they doing a Rocky Horror? Or even if if you enjoy Altered States, why isn't it a movie that people like, you got to get messed up and then watch Face Off. Right. It's a good time.
Yeah, right.
It's
camp.
I don't know.
It's totally camp.
It's double camp.
Yeah.
Because it's Cage and Travolta going nuts.
It is. Yeah, I agree. And I wonder how because you were talking about, too, how John Woo made the distinct decision, this is not going to be sci-fi. I wonder how the film would have been different.
He'd never done a sci-fi.
Yeah, I know.
He didn't do one until Paycheck with Ben Affleck, which I think
What?
Yeah.
I've never even heard of that.
Yeah, it was in early aughts.
Okay.
And I feel like, I mean, he put some, I'm not going to impugn his work ethic, but I feel like that was one for the studio. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
like, why would
okay.
John Woo want to do a sci-fi time travel movie with Ben Affleck?
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, the original script, which, he doesn't write the scripts.
Right,
The
right.
original script of Face Off was science fictional.
Yes.
Because you are cutting men's faces off and sticking them on other men.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of other, there's a prison that's, spoiler alert, inside of it's a black site prison inside of an oil derrick.
Yeah.
And there's a microchip that can change your voice.
I know.
The whole thing, they should be shooting laser guns at each other. But he wanted
lasers cut their faces off.
Well, there are lasers in it. But everybody got too high on their own supply. Speaking of altered substances, altering. And Travolta and Cage both went, "Ooh, I'm up against. Now this is my own face off. I'm up against another overactor. So we got to make this. We got to take this seriously."
Yeah.
And then John Woo's like, "Oh no, people won't believe it if it's ray guns and spaceships. Like we got to bring the drama home. You know, this is a movie about a man sleeping with another man's wife while he's wearing that guy's face."
I know.
It's just not.
I know. It's so disturbing
Yeah,
in so many ways.
It's got problems.
It
But
does.
so does Rocky Horror, and people love it.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true. Yeah. Yeah. So, we're having fun over at Just Enough Trope.
How are you weathering the quarantine, the stay at home shelter in place order?
I guess as best as possible. We started as podcasters. I guess one of the ways you deal with it is, we started a new...
You make art.
Yeah, that's right.
When life gives you lemons, you
make...
Are there any pigments that you write in invisible ink? You paint an invisible picture,
right?
That can only be revealed by applying heat to it, and then it probably burns up.
Right. So we started a new show. It's called Co-Videos for Your Quarantainment, which are both things that you coined and I think are fantastic.
I didn't think. Well, the check's in the mail.
I was paid to say that. So basically, I have a list of movies that I've compiled over the years that I haven't seen and I want to see. And Cal has a list, kind of, which is more ephemeral.
The list, it's up here.
Yeah, it's in his head. Of movies that either he hasn't seen and he wants to see, or films that he has seen but he wants to see again. Yeah. And so each episode, we each pick a film from our lists, and then we talk about it.
What have some of those films been?
Well, let's see. What did we most recently talked about? A Clockwork Orange. And Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
I was just about to ask you, are any of them sci-fi? Because this is still a Star Trek show. And I think the answer is no.
That's not true.
Oh, here we go.
Planet of the Apes. That was one of my picks.
That's true.
That's sci-fi.
That's true. But so is A Clockwork Orange.
In some ways, yeah, I think so. I would
Set
count
in the
it.
Future.
Yeah, that's true.
They drive
a
a 95.
future.
I can't remember the car. Its car's got some dumb name, but they're in like a concept car, and it's like, if we took the old 95 Burgenschmacher out on the motorway and played the game of Runny Runnies or whatever.
Exactly.
I don't know. Yeah. All right. What have you learned from doing that? That the movies that you've heard are good or overrated? Just throwing it out there.
Well, that's something that we definitely talk about. And I think sometimes the answer is yes, and I think sometimes the answer is no. And sometimes, even though you're like, maybe this is not as great as people think it is, I still enjoyed it, you know, so it's still worth a watch.
Never ending story.
So, I wanted to see that movie for so long. Probably since I was a little kid, because it came out when I was a little kid. And it's fantasy. I mean, man, it's like, I have loved unicorns for like freaking ever. So it's like,
there's not a unicorn.
I know, but they're, dragons, whatever. There's so much in there that's right up my alley.
What did you see? Like the TriStar Pictures logo or something?
Okay,
Why did you think there was a unicorn?
No, I know there's no unicorns in it. I'm just saying.
Legend should be the movie that you want to see.
I know. I'm just saying that like
there's 2 unicorns in that.
Yeah, I know. I just mean there's fantastical elements in it, and I like that sort of stuff. I always like that.
Yeah, the 80s was all about bad, underperforming fantasy films.
I know. I will go to bat for Labyrinth anytime.
Well,
though.
that's a good one.
But, yeah, and then also just, like, some of the ones that are on... I think it's kind of funny. Some of the ones that are on my list, you wouldn't think would typically be on a quote-unquote girls list.
Whoa.
And maybe the same could be said
Destroying gender barriers.
Of your list, that maybe some of the films on your list, they wouldn't think would be on a guys to see list.
Like what?
Like Cabaret, for example.
Oh.
Like, if you saw a list of all the movies we've talked about and you tried to guess who picked what, I think sometimes we would trip people up.
Cabaret is literally about a cabaret where ladies dance around in their underwear.
That's true.
What's not guileless about that?
Okay, wow. Well, what about your pick, Thelma and Louise, then?
Oh, yeah. That's a movie that... This is not Star Trek. That's a movie that I had never seen and is just, I've done a couple Ridley Scott movies on the show. Mm-hmm. Haven't I?
I think so.
Well, we did... No, maybe not. Maybe this is the only one. I can't remember.
It?
But it's like the one Ridley Scott movie that I hadn't seen, mostly because, as a guy, when it came out, I was like, I don't know. I think I get it. I don't know if that's for me.
Right.
And then I watched it and I was like, oh, I think I get it. I don't know if that's for me. And it's got, there's, I don't know, there's like a lot of, he made commercials. And so like a lot of filmmakers who came from commercials, which are the most visual of this visual medium, you've got very little time to tell the story. He brings that stylization to his work, and his best movies, that is the best sauce on top of the steak. But the steak is always the script and the actors and the characters, and that's the meaning of the actors in the script. And like every movie he's made in the last 25 years has just completely lacked those things, hasn't it? Like it's not, except for like Gladiator. Gladiator was like the last flash of like his talent, but this is, Star Trek.
Wow.
Not overrated films.
Yeah.
Staying on the subject of overrated, though.
Yes.
We haven't had you on the show since early March, I believe, pre-COVID, and the pre-end of Picard. What'd you think? And sorry to set you up like that.
I was disappointed, to be perfectly honest. I was so excited to see Patrick Stewart back as Jean-Luc Picard because I freaking love Patrick Stewart. I love Picard. I was like, oh, I can't wait, and then I feel like it fizzled. Like, was it like the first 2 or 3 episodes that were basically like one episode and it was like, can we get this going?
I mean, they kind of had a feature-length pilot that was just 3 episodes.
Yeah, but it just took...
But for a show that was 10 episodes, that's essentially a quarter of their runtime. Or was it 10 episodes? Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
That's like a quarter of their runtime. Mm-hmm. And it's almost a third of their runtime. So it's like, all right, so do you got anything else? And then, there's a lot of padding in the middle.
I know.
And maybe it should have just been a movie?
Maybe. I also feel like they totally underutilized Jerry Ryan. And I was kind of like, why is she here? Well, you'll be happy to know that other former Trek stars are going to appear in Picard Season 2. Well, I mean...
Do you like a little LeVar Burton?
I do.
In a probably very small cameo?
Oh.
I mean, come on, what are these?
I don't know.
These guys are old. What about a little Robert Picardo?
Sure.
If it's them out on the edge of Federation space and they pick up a shuttlecraft of an alien design and inside of it is the EMH backup program from that one episode where the museum was like, look at these dicks.
Wow.
The Voyager crew.
Yeah, right.
And he's like, I think I'll go home. And then, so there's another doctor out there. If it's them meeting that doctor in the 25th century, let's do it.
Isn't that the episode where LeVar Burton was on it?
No, that was Timeless.
Oh.
And that,
okay.
And they erased that. In fact, LeVar Burton in that episode, Geordi is like all but saying, please don't kill my last 15 years. I'm the captain of this ship.
I know.
And they did it anyway.
I know.
They murdered.
Stinks. I hope it's more than just a cameo. I don't know. I liked seeing Troy and Riker,
Sure.
again.
Yeah.
That was good.
Their insufferable daughter.
Well, yeah, I know.
No, she was cute. I just think, look, it's fine to have a precocious character, but that a little precocious goes a long way. That'll spread over a lot of toast.
Yeah,
and
I know.
Man, they just kept hitting it. Well, look, let's save it because we'll definitely talk about CBS Trek shows later.
Okay.
First, I wanted to basically kick off the news by announcing the story we have to talk about, the most important CBS Trek story of note, of recent note, and that's the announcement of Strange New Worlds. A new, not to be confused with the story writing contest and book line. Do you think, like, when they pick why would you, like, they could have called it Enterprise, but you can't do that.
Yeah.
Because you called the show Enterprise. Is it like the James Bond series where they have to go back and go, well, we're out of books here. Let's see. One time Ian Fleming said milk, orange juice, and eggs. No, that's his grocery list. That's not a good James Bond title. They got to pick, like, things like short stories that he wrote or something like that. Or
yeah.
So anyway, they picked Strange New Worlds, which has already been something, but that's fine.
I just feel like that's going to be brand confusion, right? Like,
nobody really knows about the people that listen to this show know about the story writing contest.
Wow.
But, the official release by CBS describes the show as thus: the series will follow Captain Pike, Science Officer Spock, and number one in the decade before. That's brand confusion. Number one in the decade before Captain Kirk boarded the USS Enterprise as they explore new worlds. That would be a great part to put Strange in. New worlds around the galaxy.
Yeah, why didn't they put Strange in there? Okay.
You want to double down.
Trying to be PC.
How about discover new life around the galaxy? Use the other part of that phrase.
Yeah.
So CBS made the announcement, and then Anson Mount, Ethan Peck, and Rebecca Romaine appeared in a YouTube video to also back that up. Talked about being excited about it and that sort of thing. Anson Mount appeared looking handsome and plaid, as always.
Yes.
And he said that we are going to get to work on a classic Star Trek show that deals with optimism in the future.
Okay, well, so my first reaction is I like these characters. I like the actors playing these characters. I want to see more from these characters. But
Space butt.
I am concerned about the very narrow window in which they have to write.
They got 10 years.
I guess.
More or less.
I guess.
And if they ever get stuck, we went to the 40th century.
Ooh, we time traveled.
We're in Warhammer now.
Yeah. Okay.
It's sci-fi. You can do anything.
I know.
While you're ruminating, let me throw more cud in there. That's what ruminate means.
Sure.
It means to chew a cud. Executive producer Akiva Goldsman. Whoop, nope. Hold the cud down. Hold it down in your stomach. Was talking with Variety, and he said, quote, "We're going to try to harken back to some classical Trek values, to be optimistic and to be more episodic. Obviously, we will take advantage of the serialized nature of character and story building, but I think our plots will be more closed-ended than you've seen in either Discovery or Picard. I imagine it to be closer to the original series than even DS9. We can really tell closed-ended stories. We can find ourselves in episodes that are tonally of a piece." Does it sound like he just got caught, like he was coming out of the bathroom or something like that? That is such a combination of talking points and also just Trump-like riffing. Doesn't it sound like he is really just? We can do serial, but it's gonna be episodic as well, and we can dig into all the things, but it's gonna be optimistic, and it's gonna be like DS9,
and it's gonna be like TOS.
Stop.
And it's like wait, what?
You're getting it everywhere.
Yeah. I mean,
your second reaction?
Obviously, it's gonna take place after the events of season 2 of Discovery. I'm guessing
but they could, mine the earlier years of.
Do like flashback episodes or something like that.
Because I think what I gather, and this is it. Like, I'm about to stop talking, and that'll be the end of what we know about the show. Mm-hmm. But they could easily, might be a little confusing for the audience, but they could easily go a couple years back because Spock was already there, although we've seen him join Enterprise. So there's your window there, I guess. But they could go back and anything up to, I guess post the cage, they could do.
Right. Right.
And that was like
Do you think they'll
5 or 6
redo
years.
the cage?
They did. It was called If Memory Serves.
Oh, well, yeah.
Season 2 of Discovery.
Yeah, I guess.
Goldsman is joined on the show by a number of producers new to Trek, and I'm not going to read their names because you don't know them anyway.
Okay.
But I'll read the shows they've worked on previously.
Uh-oh.
And if this seems like a hit piece...
This is bad.
The Magicians, Covert Affairs, Chuck, Supernatural, American Crime, Luke Cage, American Horror Story, and The 100. Now,
Okay.
I'll tell you where I'm going with this.
Okay.
I know that Gene Coon was writing cowboy shows before they started making the original series and changed the world forever with Star Trek. But I'm not seeing a lot of sci-fi here. Before you tell me that, like, Chuck is sci-fi. No, I get it. But what I'm saying is, this seems like mid-level genre TV. What do you think about that?
I would agree with you. I would say, though, that I do think, even though I didn't really watch it, I would say that the 100's probably technically sci-fi, and some people...
No, it's definitely sci-fi.
Okay.
They're on a space station.
Okay,
or
well,
something.
and I think some people might contend...
And Luke Cage is comic books sci-fi.
Right, and some people might contend that Supernatural has sci-fi
Totally,
elements.
yes. They have
But-
angels, which we know are robots.
But other than that, and...
Let me get to... I don't mean to... I'll do my own screed, I guess. I don't,
Okay,
I don't need to
okay,
put it off
alright.
on you. My problem with Star Trek, as it is currently,
Yes, modern
is
Trek, Discovery, and Picard.
It's all Trek.
Yeah.
Is twofold. Well, it's threefold. Number one, Kurtzman and Goldsman.
Yes.
I've talked
absolutely.
about that at length.
Yep.
And
Yep.
there's no point in going over it again. Number two, this is just more like they did bring... I can't remember her name. But she was on Luke Cage and the 100. And she's a woman of color. Mm-hmm. Which is great. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, all these names are... It's just a bunch of untalented, in my opinion, straight white dudes in charge.
Uh-huh.
And so, yes, we've seen diversity explode in Trek, and that is due to, I don't know, because it's a bunch of, like, dudes, white dudes writing it still, for the most part.
Right.
Jenny Lumet aside.
Right.
And some other people who are great and I'm forgetting. Kirsten Beyer. Mm-hmm. And number three, people who make mediocre TV, even mediocre genre TV, are going to make mediocre Star Trek.
Well, that's true.
And I've never been a Gene
true.
Roddenberry was Jesus' son guy, and the show would have worked without him. But he was a unifying creative force for a long time, literally, because he rewrote a lot of people's scripts without telling them. Got sued a couple times. Star Trek ultimately has to mean something, or it's just a cheesy show about people with silly putty on their foreheads.
Right.
And I don't feel like the Supernatural or the 100 are really about something. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, yes. And I would say that's especially true with Supernatural. And as we've talked about on Just Enough Trope, like after Eric Kripke leaves, like there's no through line. Well, maybe there is. It's not as good after he leaves.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's totally possible that somebody who's been writing mid-tier genre TV for 10 years and finally lands a job, their dream job on the most famous mid-tier show of all, Star Trek. Maybe they've got some amazing Star Trek ideas.
It's
But
possible.
Really, to me, if I was a Hollywood screenwriter and somebody said, can you write sci-fi like Star Trek sci-fi? I would say yes. Because that's my next job. Right?
Yes.
And I just think that, I think Alex Kurtzman has proved that he has there is no meaning to him but the bottom line, which is just to have this thing. Everybody wants it to be successful. Roddenberry wanted it to be successful, but he just wants it to be successful so it can expand and so they can make more shows because that's what his startup, his production company is supposed to do.
Right. Make more TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just, I've walked a razor thin line of trying to criticize what I see as the shortcomings of some of the new Star Trek shows without joining the likes of Doomcock and Midnight's Edge and everybody else, who I repudiate. Mm-hmm. But the buzzwords that they use about optimism and more self-contained stories are now coming out of Akiva Goldsman's mouth.
Right.
Which I just don't know how to feel about that. I mean, I don't disagree. I have always thought that Star Trek worked for 50 years by telling self-contained stories.
Absolutely.
And then when they took it outside of that to make it modern, because that's just what TV is now, they didn't have a plan beyond feed Star Trek to Star Trek fans, get more successful, make a Silence of the Lambs spinoff. You know?
Yeah, right. There's a Red Angel. There's a couple of bursts and things.
we can litigate like the individual ideas and storylines that they're trying to bring home. Right. And if this sounds like gatekeeping, the gate has been blown off its hinges. We've got 3 Star Trek shows on the air, counting short treks. We've got 4 more in the pipeline. There is no gate to keep. Like, Trek is everywhere. Yeah. And so I just want to reserve the right to comment on the Emperor's current state of dress or undress.
I think that's completely fair.
Other than that,
I don't think
no thoughts.
I don't think you have to love it just because it's Star Trek.
Well, I mean, I can't love it until I see it.
Right.
And I want to see it.
Yeah. And I guess maybe that's...
But I just don't...
That's the best thing you can say about it,
I just don't want it to be as lazy as some of the previous stuff has been. Like,
I agree.
Ask Not, the Pike short trek was like the shortest and like least developed. There was nothing to it. I
had problems with that particular one because I didn't like the idea that Pike would like...
They relentlessly gaslight every cadet in Starfleet Academy.
This is a procedure that is okayed with Starfleet.
Your mom's
and that
dead.
They constantly do.
Just kidding, you're in.
Yeah, right?
No, I'm going to join the Vulcan Science Academy.
Right, exactly. And then that she then still wants to join. Yeah. It's like...
But you see, that's what
is happening?
Yeah, but you see, that's what they did in previous versions of this. They did that to Wesley. Remember, the pipe broke and he had to drag that guy? So we're going to do that now again and not think about how maybe things were different like 100 years ago, or would they be different now in like in the 21st century?
Or maybe with 20th century eyes, we as viewers would look at that and be like, why would you do that to
It's just the way TV
being?
is made now. It's the reason that you hire David Mack to be an advisor on if this is canon or not.
Right.
Before, it didn't matter because Gene Kuhn knew the Klingons were canon. He invented them.
Right.
And when you've got a franchise that's been around for so long, there's no way that Jenny Lumet, for instance, or just so-and-so with their film writing degree, who's just trying to make a show and make a good show. They can't remember who the Organians are and all that. Well, but it's kind of maybe an argue for like really going off on your own. That's why I'm excited about Discovery Season 3, because do whatever you want. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, well, let's hope that they go for that, though. You know what I mean?
I don't know how they couldn't. They're literally...
I guess. I saw a post online from somebody who...
Star Trek News.
This is related to Trek. Who is a Trek fan, but just started watching Discovery for the first time.
Yeah.
And they were like, what is going on with the redesign of the Klingons? And you know,
everybody says that.
I know. And lots of people had responses. Some people shared articles. But I got to tell you, just my opinion.
You don't like it.
I haven't heard a good reasoning for why they did it.
All right. So,
I'm not a fan.
Mika Cock.
Mika Cock?
Why did I pick the worst part of it? How about Doom Mika?
Doom Mika? Okay. All right.
Yeah. Well, they used to be, I'll tell you why they changed it the first time is because they used to be just dudes in brown face.
I know.
So good change.
Right.
They weren't even that great. They changed them a lot from the motion picture. And Mark Lenard, thank God. Mm-hmm. So, who cares? I don't care. And they've already shown like a picture of Michael Dorn as Worf on Picard. So if we ever see Ambassador Worf, I'm sure he'll just have the regular makeup. They're just trying a thing. Who cares? That has nothing. I'm talking about the soul of the franchise. And to bring it full circle, what do you think Michael Chabon thinks Picard Season 1 is about? Not what happens. What is it about?
I think he thinks it's about an old man.
No, that's what happens. An old man goes on a space adventure. What are the themes? What's it about?
I think it's about rediscovering who you are.
I am now a robot. Oh, I just discovered I'm a robot. Okay, I won't quiz you on it because I don't want you to quiz me.
Okay.
I think it's about parenting.
Well, yeah, I can see that too. Yeah.
And I don't know what else. And listening to records and getting drunk because your former captain shot 2 people in the face in front of you.
Also parenting because he.
Well, now he considered him his dad, didn't
connection. Yeah. Well, now we're both thoroughly depressed.
But it's good. It's good to talk about it.
Yeah.
And as for me, I have been a CBS All Access subscriber since September of 2016 or whenever Discovery came out.
Right.
Was it 16 or 17?
Oh, gosh, I don't remember now.
Maybe 17. So I've paid for the right to complain. But I'm here. I'm in it for the ride.
I mean, I guess
I just would rather. We all watched Enterprise and went, oh, boy, I wish this was better.
Right.
That's just where
Same
I am.
thing.
Yeah.
And I guess we're in the best. Well, there's so much Trek out there, like you said. Yeah. So
the good news is
that's good. But if it's all bad or not great,
it can't all be bad. The good news is there's always going to be, now that we have opened it up, we can go to every corner of the thing, and it isn't just you watching Enterprise and just running the clock down until the next show comes. Whoops, there's not going to be another show. There is always going to be another show. Mm-hmm. I just hope that they distinguish themselves from each other, because I don't feel like Picard distinguished itself too much from Discovery.
No, I don't feel like it did either.
Anyway, no word on a date for the release of Strange New Worlds. Just a note on some of those other shows. Lower Decks is still expected to release this year, although we don't know exactly when.
All right.
I can imagine that it would be somewhat delayed by
Probably.
the coronavirus outbreak.
Yeah.
Disco Season 3 also is sort of MIA at this point. Anthony Rapp said in April that Season 3 was experiencing delays because the VFX artists and the editors had to work from home.
Yeah, I'd heard about that too.
And in fact, Jeff Russo, the composer, was talking recently about the process of recording the score remotely.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Does he have an okay studio from home? I mean, I would imagine if you're a
composer,
it's not. Oh, no,
I mean, yeah, composers do. But you're literally saying, okay, oboe.
Oh, like everybody has to record their own parts and you blend it together?
Then they combine them.
That's hard.
Well, I mean, we have... as a sound engineer of middling ability, I know it's totally possible with what we've got today. But it'll be an interesting experiment, and it'll be fascinating to hear the result.
So much more complicated than just recording it live and editing the best takes together. I mean, you got to edit everybody's best take together.
Well, yeah, but I mean that's just filmmaking.
I guess. TV. Wow. Okay.
Of course, many events have been affected by the lockdown and canceled.
Yep.
In the world of Star Trek. Actually, I think I read that April was the first month ever since we started conventions that there wasn't a convention anywhere on Earth.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I'd heard that too.
And May, it's not looking good.
No.
May might join April.
I think May is going to join April.
Yeah. In the world of Star Trek, Destination Star Trek, Germany, has been pushed back to October of this year. It was originally going to take place in the first weekend of May. Now it'll be October.
Well, I think that's optimistic,
yeah.
But it's in the realm of possibility.
Yeah, Destination Star Trek London is scheduled for November, and they haven't decided to move that or anything at all.
Okay.
Gen Con was canceled just recently, just this weekend.
Yeah.
Shore Leave was canceled.
Yep.
STLV, still on.
Still on. Vegas, baby.
And I've read that Vegas hotels are taking reservations starting June 1st.
What?
So, back in business, and ain't it grand? It's a song from the movie Dick Tracy.
Okay.
Wow. And the Olympics were moved to next year.
Yeah, I thought that already happened.
Yeah. Well, I'm just bringing it up because it's leading me into the next story.
I see.
You hole poker. The Summer Olympics will be held in Tokyo next year, and the OG trickster of the Star Trek universe took the opportunity to play a little prank for April Fools, a holiday that we don't even recognize on this show. George Takei announced that he would be the final torch runner for the 2021 games.
Oh, I'd heard that.
And it wasn't true, but people were there for it.
Of course they were.
He got all kinds of...
He's athletic. He's Japanese.
Yeah, people were like,
so...
this is such a great representation. This is what an honor. And there's a fine line between like doing things for a goof and like and like just blatant like gaslighting in the digital age.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, he had announced that, and then later in the day, he didn't hold on to it for too long. He had to roll it back and said, quote, "Yes, friends." No, I won't do it. Yes, friends. I'm afraid this was an April Fool's prank, a bit of levity in an otherwise dark time. And while I'll not be lighting that fire myself, my eyes will look upon it as a symbol of our triumph over this invisible foe and a reuniting of the global community.
Well, that's a well-written response.
Well, I mean, yeah, he had it chambered and ready to go.
I'm sure he did. Yeah. Wow.
Do you think he wishes that his 2017 prank about running for Congress wasn't a joke? He would win. He would just win.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, he's running in California, right?
Yeah,
and
I think so.
Yeah, and so, yeah, I mean, I think he would just win.
Does he actually want to do it? I mean, he's a guy who like jokes around. He has fun. I don't think he'd enjoy politics that much.
And he's like you said, like hale and hearty. But he's very old. I mean, he doesn't. I don't think he want to take up a job like that at this point.
I mean,
enjoy pranking people on the internet.
Yeah, right. There's plenty of old politicians out there, but they've been doing it for a while, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I certainly wouldn't want to take that on in my golden years.
I wrote COVID. Ouch. I think I was thinking of the skit from The Estate, the comedy show The State on MTV, if anybody remembers that. And there's one point where Michael Ian Black talks about how, as a famous celebrity, you don't have to do all these things. I don't have to worry about this, or I don't have to worry about STDs, ooh, spooky, ouch.
Oh.
I just wrote that about COVID, but It was supposed to be a lead into the fact that virtual conventions have taken the place of physical ones in this time of quarantine. There are GalaxyCon has been doing virtual interviews with people. There are a lot of STLV, Creation Entertainment, has definitely thrown their hat into the moneyed ring.
Yes.
And they have teamed up with Stageit.com, which is used to be an online coffee house, like busking site, kind of. So if you're a musician and you want to do a public performance, but virtually, you can set it up. You can charge tickets, to people to come.
Sure.
Or you can leave it open to tips. People can tip during the show and it goes back to you.
Okay.
And so they have done this with Kate Mulgrew, Connor Trinneer, Dominic Keating, whose name I always forget.
Yes.
And a couple other Star Trek stars.
What's her name on DS9? Chase Masterson.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you can tip during the show, and I'm like, where do the tips go?
Yeah, I would like to know
Do they
that.
go to the actors?
As somebody...
Or do they go to a COVID charity? Because those actors are just, sitting in their houses. Do they
as
want to
somebody
get paid
giving
for this?
money, I would want to know where my money was going.
Well, yeah, and I couldn't find anything on that on the creation site, but, you pays your money, you takes your chance.
Yeah.
I wanted to specifically shout out Alexander Siddig, the actor behind Julian Bashir on DS9, who has taken all of this in stride and, in order to reach out to the fans, has started the Sid City Social Club.
It sounds like something playing in Vegas or Jersey City.
Yes. I know, right?
Yeah.
And every week, or I think sometimes twice a week, he connects with fans.
Wow, that's often.
Yeah, and he basically sits down, virtually and does, 2 hours. And it isn't just, it's a Q&A, but it's also, he takes the time to individually interact with everyone on the stream. And it got popular really fast. And for that reason, he's had to basically sell tickets. There is a limited amount of time. Now, he's not selling anything. He's just having people reserve. There's no money being exchanged in this at all.
Okay.
It's just to honor the fans.
Wow.
And hang out with them. And yeah, it's just really neat. So he's got, if you search for Sid City Social Club on YouTube, you can find it there. If he's still doing, I think he's still doing these things. He was as of a couple weeks ago. So
okay, pretty cool.
Nice guy.
Yeah. That's honestly, I feel like that's impressive for an actor to do.
Well, he's not acting.
Yeah, I
he
guess.
can't act.
Oh, why can't he act? Well, I guess he can't act right now because of COVID.
Yeah,
Wow,
well, there better be less than 10
question.
people in the audience.
Yeah. Okay, never mind. But
unless he does one of those, like, a Chicago Hope, all on Zoom.
Right.
We gotta get this pay. What is he? Is he bleeding? turn the camera down. That's your cat.
Oh, wow. Yeah. How do you prevent animals from coming in and making a little cameo?
I don't think it's all live, but yeah.
All right. But I think that's cool. I think that's really neat.
Yeah. Here's some weird news. This has happened a while ago. This isn't new news, but I wanted to mention that Viacom CBS has purchased 49% percent stake in Miramax.
Right.
In the wake of the Harvey Weinstein thing, Miramax went out of business and was essentially liquidated, and it was bought lock, stock, and barrel by a Qatar-based quote-unquote media group, but it's basically just, a slush fund, I think. I don't know how many people are behind it.
Okay.
Somebody in Qatar had a lot of money and was just like, I want a stake in media, and so I'm going to buy, like, the catalog of Miramax. Now, how that works with distribution, because they used to be owned by Disney, like, I don't know. But, you basically just own the properties of Miramax. And so they put up this big auction, and I don't think there was a lot of bites, but Viacom CBS is like, yes, we want a non-controlling stake in Miramax.
Wow.
This sounds like a good idea. So they now own a lesser half, non-controlling half of Miramax, which gives them access to Pulp Fiction, Clerks, Scream, The English Patient.
Sure,
yes. All those films.
All those films.
Chicago. Would a guy watch Chicago?
I don't know.
Yes. And it's weird. This is one of a number of interesting, possibly confusing decisions coming from Viacom CBS in the past weeks and months. The first being the merger at all, the existence of Viacom CBS, the merging of Viacom and CBS and Paramount as a single entity.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of people not happy about that.
It's a big deal. And it's maybe too much for one company to have control over. Yeah.
In a 119-page lawsuit, some investors of Viacom CBS are suing the company and Sherry Redstone for making a bad decision, basically.
Okay.
It'd be like, if... Yeah, I mean, I think everybody was, high on their own supply when the AOL Time Warner thing went through.
Yeah.
But if you could go back in time and sue Ted Turner, this is kind of that.
Okay, sure.
They are, they're claiming just a mismanagement and also just making it a long, crazy, drawn-out process, which it was. This took over, 15 years or whatever to lock up.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And in the months just after CBS's merger with Viacom, they lost $12 billion in value.
Whoa.
No, this is like stock value, so it isn't but
not great, though.
No, investor confidence low.
Yeah.
And this is as, they haven't released hard numbers, but this is as we know that they've had signups and subscriptions, to CBS All Access.
Sure.
And they're not making a bunch of shows because they don't think they're going to make a lot of money out of it. But a lot of people who, have invested in this company for a long time are like, what is going on?
Right. What is the deal here? What's your plan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why a second season of Twilight Zone? No.
You need content for
not this show.
Their streaming.
Out there. Not in here.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't think it was necessarily a great idea to do it, but that's just my opinion.
Well, yeah, I mean, Viacom or National Amusements or Paramount or whatever the main entity is there was in trouble. Like, we know Paramount has always been in trouble. It's been sort of a rough seas for them. And CBS is, they're doing okay, except for having a sex creep as CEO for a long time.
Right.
They're always on top.
Right.
So I know why she wanted to do it and why her father wanted to do it as well. But Yeah, just a lot of people are like, oh, just because you want to do it means you just flushed our money down the toilet. So
Right.
And the funny thing is, this is a Star Trek news show. This has really nothing to do with Star Trek because Star Trek is like the most valuable thing that CBS has.
Yeah, pretty much.
Now that Big Bang's gone.
Whoa. Shots fired.
Yeah.
I do think it's interesting, though. I don't know how they decide this. I'm not complaining, but Trek is available on Netflix. It's not just on CBS All Access.
Yeah.
So you would think, it being one of its most valuable properties, it would want exclusive streaming rights.
I don't know how those work.
Yeah.
We know that, they lost the animated series.
We know
of
that.
Netflix.
Yes.
So I just assume that these deals are long, but they're not in perpetuity. Mm-hmm. But maybe Netflix, when they were just spending, because that's another company that spent a lot of money.
Yeah.
Just knew people are always going to watch Star Trek.
Well, that's true.
Even if
people
you don't see the value of it, we know that people will watch Star Trek. And
exactly.
so here's a 20-year lease on Star Trek or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, that's entirely possible.
Well, probably not 20, but
right. Long. Yeah.
And maybe they have been up for negotiation and Netflix has outbid CBS. I don't know.
Huh. Yeah, I guess that's a possibility too. So interesting. I'm just kind of curious about that. Yeah.
Well, I hope you're curious about a reunion between the stars of Star Trek Voyager. I don't know why I did it like that. You
went into an Oprah voice.
Yeah, I apologize. Look under your chairs.
Oh my gosh.
A shuttlecraft for you, and you get a shuttlecraft. Everybody gets a shuttlecraft. And a photon torpedo inside of it.
All right.
The cast of Star Trek Voyager will get together virtually, of course, on Tuesday, May 26th on the Stars in the House YouTube channel.
Whoa, okay. What's Stars in the House YouTube channel?
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, I never have either.
But they are essentially a company that is getting together old casts of shows.
So, I have a question. Will Jerry Ryan be on there?
And I'll tell you who will be on it.
Okay.
Yeah, Stars in the House. You have to, even though this hopefully will be ending soon, there are still COVID businesses.
That's true.
And I think there's probably been a couple streaming company.com LLCs that have popped up in the wake of this.
Oh, yeah.
And Stars in the House seems to be one. Here's who's going to be there. Kate Mulgrew, Jerry Ryan, Roxanne Dawson, Robert Beltran, Robert Duncan McNeil, Robert Picardo, Ethan Phillips, and Garrett Wang.
Okay. I guess I
No Jennifer Lean?
No.
And no Tim Russ.
Okay. I guess I never realized
and
how
no
many...
Scarlett Pomers.
Okay.
What's Naomi Wildman up to?
I don't know. Good question. Maybe they didn't ask her. Yeah, they should have.
Yeah.
I never realized how many actors named Robert worked on that show.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, that's a good portion of the cast.
That's just about everybody.
That's just about everybody. I wonder
if
why
you were
Tim
going to
Russ
do,
didn't wanna
say,
do it.
a community table read with this percentage of actors,
yeah,
that you would be ready to go and just drop a Pedro Pascal in there and you're good to go.
Right? I mean, if you're gonna get somebody to fill in, get Pedro Pascal. Don't you think?
Yeah, but he's no guy with the teeth. Walton Goggins?
Yeah, Walter Goggins. Yeah.
Yeah,
I know. But
you,
I
sir,
like
are no. I want Walton Goggins has to be on The Mandalorian. That's what we need.
Sure, yeah.
And then have him and Timothy Oliphant look at each other like, no. Because that's a good joke.
Yeah, right.
When they had when Mel Gibson was in Maverick, the movie version of Maverick, and then Danny Glover had a bit part in it, and at one point they run into each other and they're like, "No."
Oh. Okay,
good
I get it.
Joke.
I get it.
Yeah.
Like, not quite the same, but. Yeah, never mind. I was just gonna, mention in Demolition Man, Stallone. They reference Arnie Schwarzenegger, and he makes some odd
but they
color
did
comment.
that for years, though.
Yeah,
was it? I think it was Twins in Twins when Arnold Schwarzenegger is Danny DeVito's twin. He's been raised on an island or whatever, and he comes to New York and he's walking around. and he goes by a video store, and there's a poster of
Stallone
Rambo 3, and he looks at it and he's like, no, and he just kind of keeps walking. So they did that for years.
All right.
In Last Action Hero, in the world of Jack Slater, where Arnold Schwarzenegger is Jack Slater, Stallone is Arnold Schwarzenegger, or has been in all of his movies. So they see a standee for T2, and it's Stallone on the cycle.
That's funny. Are they friends in real life?
I think they're professional rivals who respect each other.
All right. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they were in... Here's the real Flash face-off girl. That movie was written for Stallone and Schwarzenegger.
Face-off?
But they both backed out.
Whoa. I'm sorry.
Your mind blown?
My mind is blown. I'm trying to...
Maybe they backed out when they went, well, one guy is like 6 inches taller than the other guy. And they're also of completely different ethnicities, hair colors, face shapes.
I mean,
one guy talks like this. The other one's like,
right.
I'm Captain Troy.
It's not like Cage and Travolta look like spitting images of each other. Like, they kind of almost try to push off that they do. But
okay, all right. As we bring this to a dearly beloved close, the Never-Ending Podcast, who would you have cast as two guys who look similar to the point where maybe a little chin implant could fix it? Ryan Gosling. I think Ryan Gosling has the most blandest, most general face in the world. So let's start there. Ryan Gosling and Johnny Depp and Skeet Ulrich.
There you go.
Oh, so it's a face-off. It's a face-off.
Yeah. They look very similar.
Wait, so you're not going to do one?
Oh, I have to do one now. Wow.
Eugene Levy and his son. We're going to make you younger.
That's a good one. Wow. How would they not be
Reese
related,
Witherspoon
though?
and her daughter.
Wow.
Right?
Sure.
It's kind of cheating.
I'm trying to think of people that I get confused with each other.
Dylan McDermott and Dermot Mulrooney star.
That's just their name.
In Who Cares?
Gosh, I'm having a really hard time with this. I feel like Bill Paxton, and I feel like there's somebody I always get mixed up.
Bill Pullman?
Maybe Bill Pullman.
They don't look alike at all.
Yeah, I don't know.
So we just got this part there.
Mika's not very good at this.
Jessica Chastain and Bryce Dallas Howard.
I could kind of work. Yeah, I could see that.
And Amy Adams.
Whoa.
Star in Faces Off. There's already two faces.
Yes.
You know why they left the slash in the title? The studio begged John Woo to take this thing out, and he's like, I don't want people to think it's a hockey movie.
Wow.
So that I don't know why that makes it any different.
I don't get it. Okay.
Big hockey fan, John Woo.
I see. He doesn't want him to think it's like a face-off between two teams.
Right. In a sudden death scenario. Van Damme.
Right.
Well, I think that's going to probably do it for this week.
Yes.
Thank God. So thanks for coming in and talking about the news with us. Again, remind people where they can find you and your projects online.
You can find me and my projects at justenough.trope.com. On Just Enough Trope, we talk about all the news that's fit to cast in the world of nerdy entertainment.
What's coming up on Just Enough Trope?
Coming up on Just Enough Trope, we are going to be talking about the comic book Miracle Man. We're reading issues 1 through 9. It's written by Alan Moore and, of course, various artists.
I think you're talking about Marvel Man, aren't you? Oh, and by the way, if you don't already own the issues, you can get them for like $5 a piece.
Which is crazy.
As soon as Marvel got their hands on Marvel Man, they immediately turned it around and turned a 75-cent comic book into a $5 comic book.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I want to know how Joe Quesada sleeps at night, but I know the answer is on a huge pile of my money. So, well, thanks again for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks again to Mikanhana for stopping by to help out with the news. You can catch all of the news that's fit to cast in the world of nerdy entertainment on the Just Enough Trope podcast, available at Just Enough Trope on Twitter, justenough.trope.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. We mentioned the 25th anniversary of Star Trek Voyager during the news, and damn, it's still a little hard to believe that it's been 25 years since Voyager began. But there's some good news that dropped after we recorded the show. The Captain Janeway Bloomington Collective of Bloomington, Indiana, has commissioned a bronze bust of Captain Janeway that would be displayed in Bloomington, which is, of course, the future birthplace of Catherine Janeway. The planned unveiling of the statue had to be canceled because of COVID-19. It was planned for this weekend, in fact. But the good news is a new date has been announced for the ceremony. It's Saturday, October 24th of this year, which is great news. I'd planned to attend the original date for the ceremony this weekend, and I'm definitely planning to be there October 24th. So if you're in the area, you should consider checking out the statue. The organizers have also teamed with the local science museum for some events, and there'll be a party and mingling. It sounds like it's going to be a con of sorts, so come on out to Bloomington, pay your respects to a great captain, and have a good time. If you can't wait until October and you want to get your hands on some Voyager merchandise, Titan Books has released a Voyager 25th Anniversary special volume to commemorate the show's debut. It's a hardcover book, and it contains behind-the-scenes information on the show, interviews with the cast and crew, and some rarely seen photos and show art and designs. It's a nice-looking volume, and it's available on Amazon.com for order. I'll leave a link in the show notes if you want to check it out. When you make purchases on Amazon through the links that we provide or by clicking on our Shop Amazon banner on enterprisingindividuals.com to get to Amazon, a small percentage of the purchase price of your transaction comes back to us at no extra cost to you, and it helps keep the Warp Core lit here at the show. And this counts for anything. It's not just Star Trek stuff. You can bookmark our banner when you click through to Amazon, and that way, whatever you buy, the same deal applies. It's a great way to help support the show. Anytime you shop on Amazon.com, click through our Amazon banner or through your bookmark or saved link and shop away. And maybe you're saying, look, I've already got the Voyager 25th Anniversary volume, and my trip to Bloomington, Indiana is already booked. To which I would have said, that's great news. You should stop by the Kinsey Institute Art Gallery at the University of Indiana, but that's closed now, so I don't know. Check out the big brain sculpture outside of the Brain Science building on campus. But I would also say, if you like what you hear on Enterprising Individuals and you want to support the show, why not head to our Patreon page at patreon.com/EISTpod. It's there that you can sign up to be a crew member for the show, and you can get access to exclusive subscriber content like our live episodes, my DS9 and Voyager rewatch recaps, extended interviews from show guests containing off-topic discussions, outtakes, and more. Just head to patreon.com/EISTpod. Anyone can join our crew, giant brains or no, all are welcome at patreon.com/EISTpod. And as always, the best way to support the show is to tell a friend. Anything you contribute to the show will be appreciated and will help keep us flying. Thanks. And that's it for this supplemental episode of Enterprising Individuals. If you're an Apple Podcast listener and you haven't yet, why not look us up on Apple Podcasts? Make sure you're subscribed to the show. Also, write a little review if the spirit moves you, and give us a rating at the very least. We'd appreciate it. If you're not an Apple Podcast user, you can still subscribe to the show on Google Play or Stitcher or wherever you get our show from. And if you leave positive comments and ratings and reviews on those platforms as well, we would be eternally grateful. Next week on Enterprising Individuals, how we deal with death is at least as important as how we deal with life. That's what Admiral Kirk said to Lieutenant Savick after she questioned the purpose of the Kobayashi Maru test. The irony is that Kirk will spend the next 2 hours of Wrath of Khan realizing that those words are just a platitude, that he's lived a charmed life, he's never faced real death, and the only mortality he's contemplated recently is his own. Catherine Janeway is a captain no less skilled than Kirk and with no smaller reserve of obstinacy, and she's determined to face her death with the same resolve with which she lived her life. Rosemary's Ladies podcast host Jen Dahlman returns to the show next week to discuss an episode of Star Trek Voyager that will put Janeway's faith in herself to the test and make her question if her skepticism is a strength or a weakness. It's Coda, next time on Enterprising Individuals. And until then, I'm your Captain Caliban signing off and saying live long and prosper.
Mikanhana.
And I'm Caliban.
And we're the hosts of the Sailor Noob podcast. I'm the expert.
And I'm the noob.
You're talking into the wrong end of the microphone.
Aye, aye.
Okay, every week we watch a new episode of Sailor Moon and learn about monsters, fashion, food, culture, and of course, the Sailor Warrior of Love and Justice, Sailor Moon.
All right, now, what is her rank? Is she an admiral or a rear admiral?
Okay, shh. The ad's almost over. We're a couple of magical people, and every week we Moon Prism Power make up a new episode.
Better midships. Steady as she goes.
Please stop that. Sailor Noob is available every Friday on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Shiver me timbers.